Hey, and welcome back. So I got a heater, a 4,000 watt heater, made by Eberspacher, I hope I'm saying that right, better known as SPAR, and it's twice the size that is normally installed in a van. Usually people put 2,000 watt heaters in. And I think that's mostly driven by size. This is twice the size of a 2,000 watt heater. And while it might fit under the passenger seat, I really don't think that's the ideal location for it. I found a spot in the middle of the van, which makes more sense to me because when it's really cold out, there's a cold zone in the back, and getting blasted by the heater from the van is no fun. So having this in the back, kind of warming the whole entire compartment back there and not blasting me in the face is a good idea. And not to mention, of course, you can use it while the engine's off. Also, I've heard people say that the 2,000 watt heaters have trouble keeping up when it's really cold outside. I would rather default on the side of having too much heater and having to turn it down than not having enough heater and being cold. It's a good trick for marking a hole center when you don't have something that large to center up on. You could make that out of a piece of wood if that's all you had and be able to get an accurate center mark. And while this might be an ideal spot for the heater itself, it's not so ideal layout wise as far as cabinetry or any of that goes. So we'll have to work around it. There's always something, right? There's going to be a compromise somewhere, so that's what I had to give up. I needed a nice flat spot to be able to mount it. Now there are other mounts available that you can get that will raise the heater up off the floor if you have an uneven surface and you just have to put it in that spot. You can do that, but then that brings the combustion exhaust up inside the compartment, and I didn't want to do that. Alright, I know I should be doing this with a hole saw or a unibit or a step bit, whatever you want to call it, but I ain't got one of those, and I couldn't find my hole saw for some reason, so I got away with using that. That is not the way to do it, but I know what to expect. I got away with it. I got this additional reinforcement mount plate with the kit, and to keep it as big as possible, I'm going to mount it under the van instead of inside the van, so I can cut less of it off. If I put it inside, I have to cut even more material away to be able to make it fit between the ribs. Once I got the holes drilled through the van body, then I put that floor section back in the van and marked the holes from the underside so that I could locate the heater onto this floor panel and then make a cutout for it. Got a really nice fit to the floor panel, and I might add an aluminum heat shield to the heat side of that if it's necessary after I do some testing. As well, I used anti-seize on the mount studs, so if I need to take it off for maintenance, it's going to be a lot easier in the future. The kit came with a really good assortment of clamps, but I changed out most of the hardware for my own stainless hardware. Ford put an auxiliary fuel port onto the fuel tank, which makes installation really a breeze because the fuel pipe is already there. You just need to get this fuel connector, which are readily available and should have come with the kit because there's only really three sizes. There's like quarter, 5/16, and 3/8 are like the most common ones. So yeah, SPAR put those in the kit so I don't have to buy an extra one. I've heard that the fuel pipe only reaches 3/4 of the way down into the tank, so at a quarter of a tank, you probably will not have heater operation, so keep your tank full. That's the auxiliary fuel port cap. It's marked with that yellow widget lock thingy that's really a hassle to get off. And once you've located that, you just push those two little squares and pop that right off. I ran the fuel tank down to where it was almost empty. There was about 2 gallons of fuel left in it maybe. So that made it really easy to do this job. Of course, whenever you need to change the fuel pump, the tank's full. Now, I've saw that people have had very different experiences with this type of heater, and I think this is the source of the trouble right here, is the routing of this fuel line. This is a low pressure pump. It's not a high pressure pump, so it's basically dripping. It needs to have the routing of the line be very precise and very short for it to work properly. I want to mount the muffler right here on this bracket, and I could just throw a screw in it and call it done, but that wouldn't be any fun. Let's make something. Eberspacher says that the exhaust should be between 200 millimeters and a maximum of 2 meters long, and I've got that at about 600 millimeters. It's about 24 inches or so. And the same dimension applies for the intake as well, but I have a little bit of a problem with mounting. I need to extend this. You're supposed to use one or the other, so I had to add that little piece there in the middle. You could add a piece of PVC pipe if that were all you could find. I just happened to have that piece of corrugated pipe, so it worked out where I could just screw that together and it worked. I didn't really like the clamps that came for mounting the air intake, so I added that big clamp loop. I already had it on hand. As well, I don't have it pointed into the wind, and it's up high as it can go under the van. Now, I know a lot of you get overwhelmed whenever you see a big wiring harness like that. I have a lot of experience with it, so for me, it's really easy, but this is really easy. That's the main connector to the heater, the connector for the controller, and the optional wires that I'm not going to get into that are for like every possible configuration, the diagnostic connector, 2 powers and a ground. I guess ground is brown in Germany, and the 2 wires hot and ground for the fuel pump. Alright, so I was a little disappointed with the literature that comes with the heater. That's the operation manual. Comes in 90 different languages. There's only like 2 pages of it that's in English. There's no installation manual that comes with the heater. There's this disc in this guy that looks like he has all the answers, but whenever you plug him into the computer, it points you automatically to what is supposed to be the manual that you need for your heater. Well, guess what? The one for my heater was not the one that he pointed me to. So that dude does not have all the answers. So I had to go hunt online and find the one that I needed, and I just verified it by pinning out this connector here and making sure that the color code matched the wire terminal number. Alright, so before I get into all that harness, I need to get into this harness, which is the temporariness that I did previously. Now that I know what I'm doing with my build out, I'm going to move all that down this wall here through that panel and come out here at the C pillar. So I need to address all of that first. And I've already run some wire fishes, some wire pulls. It's a lot easier to do with a nut like that and a string than it is with an actual wire fish, at least inside of a vehicle anyways. Hey, and I've added some L-track to the ceiling, and I've also got my headliner panel done in the front. Ran all the wires across the the second panel there and down each C-pillar, so I've got everything ready to finish the build out. And here's some quick footage of making the headliner panel. Well, Jack got out of the box. Now I got to get him back, well, not in the box, but in the wall panel. So there's the air compressor connection to the Ford factory connections. I relocated the ARB air compressor 40 amp max fuses under the van instead of by the seat, and got everything run down the wall and terminated at the C-pillar so that whenever I build my panel in the future I can just connect to all of that stuff and re-terminate, and that allows me to test everything. And as you can see here, I have a flicker issue that is from the fuel pump on the heater and the LED lights that I added. So good reason to test, easy to fix. I just need to isolate that circuit and that problem will go away. With all the lights on, that's much brighter than it appears on camera. Hey, thanks for watching.
What is